Welcome back. I'm your host, BC Eden. We are so glad you could join us today. We are completing the end of the first part of our series where we are considering foundational scriptures. And if you're accessing this through social, please consider showing you value this conversation by liking or subscribing. We've been unpacking Paul's mental framework in Philippians 4:8, a cheat sheet for our thoughts. So far, we've explored what is true, noble, just or right, pure, and each one of these is a lens for clarity and transformation. Now today, we're going to cover the second half of that verse, whatever's lovely, good report, excellence, and whatever is praiseworthy. So let's get started. Lovely. The word Paul uses here is rare. It combines pros and phileo. Pros means toward, and phileo meaning affectionate or relational love. So lovely in this case does not mean pretty or aesthetic. It means where you are directing your affection. This is not a passive sentiment. And Paul is saying, aim your affection wisely. Let your thoughts move toward what is worth embracing. Now let's look at some examples of phileo. John 21:15 through 17. Now this is affection versus unconditional love. And Jesus asked Peter, do you agapas me? Do you love me? And Peter replies, well, you know I phileo you. In Matthew 23:6, we see the love of status. They phileo, or they love, the place of honor at banquets. Here phileo is used showing how people can misdirect their affections. So Paul's point is simple. Direct your affection towards what will form you, what will transform you. So when we think about where we're pointing our affection, we want to do the things that build up others and that create growth and transformation in ourselves. Whatsoever is of a good report. This means what is well spoken of, what deserves gratitude, what is worth repeating or telling. Focusing on a good report is in contrast to rumination or mental rehearsals of what's wrong, or narratives shaped by fear or scarcity. Now, the truth is we all do it, right? This is the kind of thought like reflecting on God's goodness. To think on what is a good report is to amplify what is worth celebrating. It's counting blessings, choosing to highlight what reflects grace or God's pardon for mankind, His sacrifice, because this is what builds and anchors us in perspective. We could even focus on our awe of all He has created and done. But good report is not denial. It's a chosen refocus on a higher truth which can orient us into gratitude. And this leads to improved mindfulness, regulation, especially in interactions with others. It can lead us to making choices that are more accurately aligned with our values, and it dampens the ill effects of the scarcity mindset. It chooses to highlight what God has done, believing in the best in others, what's possible, what's redeemable, what's worth celebrating in others. A good report is a redirect or a refocus, away from what drains you and towards what anchors you. Whatever is excellent. This is the word for virtue, moral goodness, strength of character, or valor. And again, as with purity, this is not about perfection. Purity was a filter. Excellence is a standard, and it's a commitment to that standard. Excellence creates alignment to live your values. And in doing that, you find wholeness within your identity. It's the opposite of being double-minded, which in Greek carries the idea of being split or divided or pulled apart. It's actually the very root of the word for anxiety. To think on what is excellent is to let your thoughts be shaped by moral clarity and not compromise. It is to interrogate your impulses, to refuse to settle for what is beneath your calling. It acts as a gatekeeper of your inner life. So just as purity filters out contaminations, excellence generates momentum because it's not a passive virtue. It's active integrity. It's the kind of character that moves you toward wholeness, towards courage, and towards the person that you're destined to become. Whatever is praiseworthy. This means commendation, accurate recognition, or fitting approval. It's not flattery, hype, or performance. It's the kind of praise or recognition that is truthful, appropriate, grounded, and stabilizing. In practical terms, these become memorial stones of your story, the pillars of your narrative that serve as a reminder of what God has done, It's a celebration. It's creating a spotlight or a focus. To think on what is praiseworthy is to acknowledge what is worth lifting up and taking the time to remember. And so we'll circle back around in another episode and talk more about narrative. So what you think on, you become. And the scripture says, and as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. It's that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. The tongue is the rudder of a ship, and the rudder is the steering mechanism that determines the direction of the boat. So what does that mean in terms of our thinking? This demonstrates the relationship between the mind, our mouths, and our actions. What we think, what we say, and what we do. Through this template, Paul invites us to take inventory to help us steer our thoughts. So in review, true. Are you aligning with God's character? Are you protecting your mind from the noise of this world? Honorable. Do we treat others with respect or based on utility value? Do we see others as God sees them? Just tells us that we need to calibrate our conscience. Pure works as a filter to pull out what contaminates our inner life and our growth and what you produce. Lovely. Where are you directing your affection? Good report. Are you anchored in the protection of gratitude? Excellent. Are you living your values with clarity or struggling with the inertia of double-mindedness? Praiseworthy. Praiseworthy reminds us to build up our narrative shaped by what God has done in our lives and what He is doing. And this is how we become like a tree planted by the streams of water, rooted, steady, and unshaken. Please join us next time for the final foundational scripture, Ephesians 6:14 through 17. You won't want to miss it.